Two students here, A through K, M through Z. One student here to collect evaluation. No pickies, no washing, okay?
Hello everyone, my name is Yue. I'm a second year PhD student in AIS department, and I'm very glad to be here to talk about this topic. Text mining to uncover corporate fraud to distinctive cases. So in this presentation, I will cover the following parts. Probably you are not so familiar with text mining, but you must be familiar with text. Text data is everywhere in the books, articles, in the news we read, like the Wall Street Journal, and the financial statements. And so there are a lot of studies that use text mining to analyze the 10 case, especially the MD and A part, and even the footnotes of the 10 case has been studied. And of course, 10 Qs, A case, and social media like the Twitter, Facebook, and even Yelp data has been used for study. And there are, of course, other texts. So with the great availability of such texts, how can we extract the relevant and the useful information? It's unpleasant if we want to do it manually because it's very time consuming. And it's also impossible for us to use this text directly for statistics analysis because they are usually unstructured. Therefore, we will use text mining, which seeks to use the computational techniques to automatically extract relevant and useful information from texts. So this picture shows how text mining can be combined with other techniques like statistics, machine learning, management science, artificial intelligence, computer science, etc. to do various analysis on texts. For example, we can do document matching, we can do entity extraction, we can do word association, sentiment analysis, we can do document clustering, etc. There are a lot of things in text mining can help us with. A lot of programs can help us with text mining. Here I list some of them. And I just want to mention that Python provides a natural language toolkit known as NLTK. It provides a suite of libraries and programs for natural language processing. It's a very powerful and useful tool. So how can we do text mining? Here are some common techniques. First, we can use regular expressions for pattern matching to extract the specific part that we want from the text. There are a set of rules for a regular expression that you can find online. And here is the example. So we can use this regular expression to match the date. So D2 here means 2 digits. Any digit can be a number from 0 to 9. And another important technique in text mining is dictionary building. So text mining is usually based on dictionaries to help us identify the important keywords that we are interested in. So we can build dictionaries by ourselves, manually. For example, we can create a dictionary of positive words containing words like assure, benefit, delight, again, etc. What we think they are positive. Or we can, of course, use some machine learning techniques to create such dictionaries. And there are many dictionaries available that we can borrow. like the Laffer and McDonald dictionaries. These dictionaries are designed specific for the analysis of financial files. They have many different categories, like the positive words, negative words, uncertainty words, like the modality words, etc. They are publicly available online, and many studies now will use their dictionaries. And we can use part-of-speech tagging to identify words as nouns, verbs, adjectives, etc. Here is an example of the tagging. We can have my as personal pronouns, account as noun, is as a verb, empty as an adjective. And we can use similarity matching to compare how similar to sentences or to texts are. Like in this example, are these two sentences 47% similar, 75% similar, or 100% similar? And this TF-IDF technique, it provides us with a way to calculate the weighted ratio of words in the texts. So the idea is that the more unusual word in the text might be more important. So we should give them higher weights. But actually, there is no optimal way of assigning weights. This is just a technique used by most of the studies. And you can, of course, define the weights based on your own expertise. Text mining has been applied to fraud detection in the literature. Here are some papers that use text mining for fraud detection. So basically, this paper show that the texts contain some incremental information that can be used for fraud detection. So we can use text mining to identify some specific patterns or create some new indicators that can help us to improve the predictions for fraud. Now I will introduce two cases that use text mining for fraud detection. This case one is the fraud detection in COBOL code. So COBOL code is the computer program language designed for business use. In many large banks and financial institutions, there are millions of unaudited lines of COBOL code handling transactions. Because they are unaudited, it's very likely that they contain some fraudulent or irregular code. And this code can give deep discounts, eliminate red flags, and give other unauthorized benefits to individual account holders. So they can be very harmful for the institutions. Therefore, in this project, a COBOL analyzer is developed to automatically identify the suspicious COBOL files and flag the COBOL files that are similar to these files with known fraud. Here are some examples of the fraudulent code. So in this case, the fees are set to 0 for certain commercial superintendents. And in this case, the social security numbers are hard-coded. I want to say here that we see the SSN here as 14 digits because it's not SSN in the US. It's another country's SSN. They are 14 digits. And in this case, a specific contractor will not be charged for a specific product.
Can you repeat that, please? Go back.
Which
How was it? Because of the less than 14 digits, is that what you said?
These are the SSN for the another country, not the US SSN. So how can we detect this fraudulent code? And the solution has two parts. So in part one, we will use regular expressions to automatically identify the suspicious patterns in the code. The suspicious patterns is defined by us. And for example, this expression can match the SSN, and this expression can match the hard-coded account numbers, and this expression can match the hard-coded fee values. And then in part two, we will create a record of each COBOL file with the attributes related to fraud risk, based on the measures of the suspicious patterns we define. So specifically, tens of thousands of COBOL files will be processed, and then we will create a risk score for each of these files based on the number of matches of the suspicious patterns. So here in this flow chart, I will explain in detail how it works. So first we have the COBOL files here, and then we will use regular expressions to identify the suspicious patterns that we define. And then in the next step, we can do two things. We can do for each file extract the suspicious code, or we can, for each file, count the number of matches for each suspicious pattern. And these two steps are independent of each other. So after we count the number of the matches, we can generate a data file in the form of Excel, where the rows are the names of the COBOL files and the columns are the matches of the suspicious patterns, like in this table. The rows are the names and the columns here are the suspicious patterns, and these are the matches. And then we can calculate a suspicious score for each of the COBOL files based on the matches of the suspicious patterns. And there are many ways to calculate this suspicious score. For example, we can use the weighted average of the matches, where the weight can be defined by an expert in this area. And then we will rank the files with respect to the suspicious scores, and we can identify some files with high suspicious scores. And for these files, we can use the extractor here to extract the suspicious code, and we manually inspect these files to see whether they contain fraud or not. And then in this way, we can label the fraudulent COBOL files, so we can have these files with no fraud. And then we can update our data file, and we can use machine learning techniques to predict other files that are similar to the files with known fraud. And so we can further update our data file, and we will have new files for manual inspection, and we might have new files that have known fraud. And by repeating these steps, we can refine our COBOL analyzer, and in the end, the COBOL analyzer will be able to predict more fraudulent COBOL files and with higher accuracy. So this process will save us a lot of manual work. And the second case is the fraud detection in earnings conference cost. The earnings conference costs represent a high-stakes setting because subsequent to the earnings conference cost, we can observe whether the financial performance discussed in the earnings conference cost turn out to be deceptive or not. And the economic consequences can also be very severe. In some cases, the CEO and CFO can be fired after the detection. And another thing about earnings conference call is that they contain a prepared part of presentation and an unprepared part of Q&A. And we might be able to observe different fraudulent patterns in these two different settings. So this paper studies whether in high-stakes settings, strategic spoken language tales are differentially indicative of deception compared with non-strategic spoken language tales. The non-strategic spoken language reflects the natural, inadvertent, and uncontrolled reaction when people tell lies. For example, we might have higher pitch or fast tempo. And on the other hand, strategic spoken language is the intentional efforts made by the speaker to speak as the opposite of someone who is telling a lie. For example, they might intentionally speak more steadily to act as if they are telling the truth. And specifically, these paper studies, do people talk differently when they are telling big lies? And does lying differ between the prepared and unprepared part? So they think that in the prepared part, it's more likely that the speakers will use more strategic language. Here are some theories about the non-strategic speaking and strategic speaking. And we think that non-strategic cues could result from fear of detection, guilt, or increased cognitive load, while the strategic cues could result from extensive preparation and voice training. So as mentioned before, the paper studies the vocabulary and linguistic cues of fraud in the earnings conference calls, and they specifically compare the unprepared part and the prepared part. But in this presentation, I will only focus on the linguistic part because it's related to text mining. So here are the variables of interest for fraud detection. We are interested in the utterance length, which is the total number of words in each utterance. The specificity, how much detail do they provide in the utterance, and the complexity, and hedging and uncertainty, which are related to the bigness or fuzziness of the statement. So if we use more hedging or uncertainty words, we are trying to make the sentence more big. Probably we are trying to hide something. And certainty and comprehensibility. So is the sentence easy to understand or not? If we are using more sentences that are less comprehensible, it's also likely that we are trying to hide something. And immediacy and personalism. These reflect the extent to which the speaker personalizes the statement. For example, if the speaker uses more self-referencing words like I, my, it's likely that he's taking responsibility of the statement he is saying. So it's more likely it's telling the truth. And if he uses more words that referencing others or more non-immediate words like the passive voice, future tense, it's more likely that they are trying to distance themselves from the statement they make. So it's possible that they are lying. And the affect. So does the speaker show some positive or negative emotions in the statement? here are the hypotheses. The first hypothesis provides a baseline to compare the linguistic components between the prepared part and unprepared part. So they think that these components should be different in these two parts. And here are the hypotheses related to fraud. So they think that fraud-related utterances should be shorter in length, should be less specific, less complex, but only during the Q&A part, which are relatively unprepared. And the fraud-related utterances might contain more hedging, more uncertainty language, less comprehensible language, more passive voice, more future tense, fewer self-referencing pronouns, and more pronouns referencing others, and may have more effective language, and especially during the Q&A part. For the last hypothesis, the negative effect could result from the guilt and the fear of detection, as we mentioned before. But it's also possible that the speaker will use more positive language to mark the negative emotions they have. So it's likely that we observe more effective language in the fraudulent part. So how do they test? They perform analysis on the corpus of about 1,000 statements made by the CEO and CFO of one company during 6 quarterly earnings conference calls. And this CEO and the CFO turn out to have deceived, and they are sued later. So based on the related materials, a coder was able to label the utterances that are related to fraud. So one of the authors has this expertise in matching. So using the labeled data set, they are able to test the hypothesis. So here are the results. So the results for the first hypothesis show that the prepared utterances had more words, were longer in duration, and were more specific, but only for the fraudulent topic utterances. And here are the results for the fraud-related hypothesis. So they find support for this Hagen uncertainty and comprehensibility, but only partial support, and immediacy and non-immediacy. And the affect, they find support for positive affect, but less negative affect during the Q&A part. So this can indicate that the managers are trying to use more positive words to mark their fraud. So here are the visualizations of the findings. So this picture is quite interesting because it shows that the fraud language is more complex than the non-fraud language, which is the opposite of their hypothesis. And especially during the Q&A part, the unprepared part, the complexity is much higher. So this could indicate that the speakers, they might be very well prepared, is extremely prepared for even the unprepared Q&A part. And this shows that the fraudulent language have more hedging, but only during the Q&A part. And this picture, the blue line is the fraud-related resentment. So this shows that on average, the fraudulent language have more non-immediacy. But when it's in the Q&A part, the result is reversed, so it's the opposite of the hypothesis. So we think in the Q&A part, it's more unprepared. They might have more non-immediacy in the fraudulent part, but the observations shows the opposite. This might also suggest that these CEO and CFOs they might be extremely prepared for the Q&A part. So these findings show that the fraudulent utterances contain features connoting credibility. The managers, they are trying to use more strategic responses to cover their non-strategic markers when they are lying. Perhaps they have extensive preparation, and another idea is that they might use the strategy of staying on the script. And to summarize, we find that text mining has a great potential to help us improve our predictions for fraud. That's all. Thank you.
Besides the speeches that you evaluated, did you run this against footnotes to financial statements?
No, I just read some papers.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You're supposed to talk a little bit longer. Just a minute, I gotta get my other students in here. Thank you very much, so. For those of you that don't lost your ticky, I have a few extra tickies here. Where's my